perspective.
CBS News. Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, Sunday on CBS.
Tonight, as Maui homeowners return to devastated neighborhoods, the wildfire investigation grows. Then, one city's back-to-school busing meltdown amid a national driver shortage. And what's being done after multiple security incidents at airport checkpoints on the CBS Evening News.
The fair is huge, and it's a really great opportunity for the presidential candidates. Come out, really test the waters.
The impression in Washington is that Trump's lead here in Iowa is insurmountable, is it?
No, of course not.
Why not?
That's why I'm campaigning, because I believe that my optimistic, positive message is being rooted in Iowa.
What are your thoughts about former President Trump?
Voted for him last 2 times, but I don't like the way he smashes the other candidates.
Hello, I'm Major Garrett, and welcome to a very special edition of America Decides. We are at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. We have shed our air-conditioned comfort in Washington, D.C. and come here to a breezy sun-splashed midway right here in Des Moines, Iowa. We're not the only ones who are here, of course. Republican presidential candidates have been making their pitch basically here all week. And we've been speaking with some of those presidential hopefuls and also doing our fair share to talk to Republican voters right here in Iowa who say they will attend the caucuses and therefore exert pretty considerable influence on who the eventual Republican nominee is most likely to be. For more on all this, I want to bring in Amanda Rooker and Musaddiq Badar. Amanda is the chief political reporter for KCCI, our affiliate here in Des Moines, and an excellent affiliate it is, I'm here to tell you. Musaddiq, of course, is a CBS News political reporter. Moose, Amanda, it's great to see you. Amanda, tell me where Trump is in Iowa right now. The poll showing with a huge lead. Is that where things stand?
Well, at this point, Major, Donald Trump is the front runner, and for everything that I'm hearing from Iowa Republicans, it's Donald Trump's race to lose in Iowa right now. Electability seems to be a major argument that people are making, but Donald Trump, when he comes here, when he talks to Iowans, he claims and he says, I've won before, you voted for me before, you know who I am. He has that mega celebrity status, and we saw that when he came to the Iowa State Fair. We saw people wanting to see him climbing up on trucks even to see Donald Trump. Yeah. But that's not to say that that could change. I mean, we have 5 months to go till that January 15th caucus date, but right now, it's Donald Trump's universe here.
Musaddiq, Trump has won here in general elections. He did not win here in the caucuses in 2016.
Yep.
And when Amanda says, and I think she's right, it's his race to lose, when you talk to voters, Republicans around here, is there a mechanism by which they can imagine Trump losing this race?
There is, and when we talk to voters about this, the one thing they tell us is they love the former president, they love his policies, they love what he's done for the country, but they are starting to feel hesitant about supporting him on caucus night, and they point to the indictments, they point to the language he uses, they point to the way he carries himself, and they are telling me and they're telling us that they're starting to get a little bit tired of that, and they're looking for alternatives, and that presents an opportunity for some of these other candidates who've been here all week long.
Let's talk about one of those other candidates. Tim Scott was here yesterday. I walked around the fairgrounds with him. So did Senator Joni Ernst. All the interactions were relaxed, enjoyable. He seemed to draw a pretty sizable crowd. Let's just play a little bit of sound from a brief session that Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, had with a rather large group of reporters here yesterday. So the impression in Washington is that Trump's lead here in Iowa is insurmountable, is it?
No, of course not.
Why not?
That's why I'm campaigning, because I believe that my optimistic, positive message is being rooted in Iowa, and that, frankly, our poll numbers continue to go up. That's great news. More importantly, people are showing up at large numbers, and my crowds continue to increase. That's even better news than even polling. So the good news is we have enough time to make this not into a two-horse race, and at the end of the day, we look forward to being the nominee.
Will you commit to going to all 99 Iowa counties?
I'm going to go to I'm doing a bus tour starting the week after next, and we're going to continue until we get done throughout the entire state.
So what do you learn from going through a place like this that prepares you to be president?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we should all learn is the importance of work ethic. Many folks get up at 5 o'clock, but the last thing they do is at 10:30 at night. So the importance of work ethic is undeniable. Number two, do something that you're passionate about is really important. When you talk to the kids are really passionate about their responsibilities and the opportunity. Number three, realize that America provides so much diversity and opportunity. You know, whether you're in farm country or whether you look at education, the importance of our workforce and our discipline is undeniable when you come to the state fair.
So the second part of that encounter was at a livestock barn here at the Iowa State Fair. And like almost all state fairs, this has a very large agriculture component to it. But Amanda, I want to ask you something in your reaction to what I asked Senator Scott about, because you know what I was driving at when I said, are you going to go to all 99 counties?
Right.
What did you take from his answer? Did you hear a commitment there or a bit of hesitation?
A bit of hesitation, although what I have heard from Tim Scott and these candidates is their commitment to the grassroots politics that make Iowa, Iowa. Now, I'm not sure that is, locking down in that answer from Tim Scott to you, but I've heard from him before that he says he is committed to really developing this personal one-on-one FaceTime interaction that Iowans are craving when they're looking for, a potential alternative to Donald Trump.
But there's a kind of history in Iowa of this 99 county thing.
Right.
If you go to all 99 counties, you have symbolically embraced the entire state.
The full
Chuck
Grassley's
Grassley's done it for decades. Joni Ernst has now done it 9 years in a row. Ron DeSantis, as I understand it, has committed to that. But it's a huge commitment of time.
Right.
And campaign managers have historically said, look, some of those counties on the list of 99, there's hardly anyone there. What are you doing? Wasting all this time going there. What do you think is the substantive and symbolic value of that kind of commitment? Does it make a difference?
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned Ron DeSantis there. Ron DeSantis right now has been on a bus tour with his super PAC through all 99 counties, and I was following him on one of those over the last weekend. He stopped in 6 counties in one day, one of them, Ottoman County. So small. I talked to an Iowan there who says, hey, we're small, we don't have a lot of population, and not all the presidential candidates are coming here. The fact that I shook Ron DeSantis' hand, I'm locked in and I'm going to be caucusing for him. And so when they hear 99 counties, like you said, Iowans know what that means. Mm-hmm. That means I care about Iowa, and when I go to the White House, I'm going to be prioritizing Iowans' interests. I think that's how it translates to them.
Evaluate DeSantis here in Iowa, Moose.
He has been doing a lot of campaign events, and as you mentioned, he had 6 events here the day before the state fair, and he has said that he's going to go everywhere, and he's changed a little bit of that strategy. Early on, it was a lot of big events, big rallies, and now we're seeing him shake hands. When I see him make stops at these campaign events, he's making sure to go around the room, talk to everybody. He's making sure to take pictures, and that makes a difference.
And I don't want you to be a theater critic, but is he getting better at the retail politics, that sort of intimate face-to-face encounter?
It's hard to tell. He feels a little bit more comfortable, and he's staying in these rooms a little bit longer. He is making the rounds more and more, and it has to make a difference, right? He has to keep doing this, and when you keep doing something more and more, you start to get better at it. So he is putting in the work. He's visiting all these places, and Iowans are starting to notice. They're starting to take a sense that he's coming here and he's paying attention and he cares about what they want to tell him.
I want to play a soundbite from President Trump. He was here Saturday, and as you said, Amanda, drew an enormous crowd. Let's play President Trump's remarks.
We stopped in 2020, we stopped in 2016. This blows it away. We set a record for people today, and you're very special. You're very special to me. And we are going to take care of our country. We're going to take care of Iowa, and you're going to be proud of our country again.
So big crowds, right? I mean, it was
Absolutely.
legit.
I mean, state fairs are crowded, right?
Yes, especially on weekends.
When I was there following him, it was as far as the eye could see. I mean, the Grand Concourse, it was shoulder to shoulder. Usually you can kind of navigate a state fair a little bit. You could not. I mean, people were rubbing shoulders. And people that I talked to, too, that were here to see him, a lot of them told me they got here when the state fair opened. They got in a line, sometimes 30 people deep, just to hear a glimpse of what he had to say inside kind of a restaurant. He turned into an auditorium. Of course, he didn't do kind of the mainstay fair things. He did the typical Trump fanfare. I'm going to do my own thing.
Fair to say, a bigger crowd than anyone has drawn by far.
Oh, so here's something that is hard to say. You heard him say there, record-breaking crowds.
He always says that, though.
Typical Trump talk, right? I mean, there is no definitive record.
I have some experience with this lady.
Right. Something we've never heard from him before. Not true. But I will say, from what I have seen of the other candidates and the crowds that they have drawn, this absolutely overshadowed the candidates that were at the fair that day, at least when Trump was here.
And yet, yesterday, he's talking to Iowans who told me they're Republicans, intend to participate in the caucuses. The word you used, Moose, hesitation, is what I heard. I want to play a couple of sound bites from some of those encounters here yesterday in the midway of the Iowa State Fair.
There's no doubt he's been mistreated by the left. I mean, they've targeted him all the way, and it hasn't been fair. But I think it's time for something new.
We could use some of his ideas, but not quite so, exciting. I don't know what word I want to use there, but we got to tone it down just a little bit.
Tone it down just a little bit. That's really not the Trumpian way now, is it? And I will say, Amanda, I heard that not once, not twice, but at least a half a dozen times. Some variation of, like him, good policies, remember that 4 years well, wish we could go back to that, and then this kind of breath. But I'm not sure, A, he can win, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with him anymore. Is that what you hear?
That's exactly what I hear. And so that's kind of the dichotomy that we're dealing with, right? Is we're seeing Trump dominate in the polls, and yet on the ground, at least, I mean, right here in central Iowa here, you may not be getting the full picture of Iowans, although you're at the state fair, it draws people from all over the place.
Everyone I talked to was a rural Iowan.
And well, so then maybe you are getting a full picture. I mean, the people that I'm talking to in central Iowa, that is over and over what I'm hearing. I voted for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. But I'm just not sure that he can actually win in the general election, or I'm not sure that he really has my best interests at heart. He's maybe distracted. But I also wonder, I think a lot of Iowans may not know who the right alternative is to Donald Trump. And there is some hesitancy of, so I'm still weighing my options, or I'm still looking at who I think would be the best candidate to win. But there is this anecdotal hesitancy, I think, is the exact word that I'm hearing over and over from Iowa Republicans here.
So I want to play some sound from Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in the Trump administration, former South Carolina governor. You'll see her talking to Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa, these fair-side chats that the governor has been holding. Let's listen to Nikki Haley.
Republicans have lost the last 7 out of 8 popular votes for president. That is nothing to be proud of. We should want to win the majority of Americans. We have the solutions. We know how to lift up everybody. We just have to communicate it the right way.
Communicate it the right way. Oh, yes. Every political party, every political figure I've ever covered who's in a moment of distress always says, it's not me, it's the way it's being communicated. That's the problem. It's always communication. So let's talk about communication and Nikki Haley. Moose, how's she doing in Iowa? Does that particular point of view, we've lost 7 of the last 8 popular votes, resonate? Is she gaining any traction?
Well, Iowans are really worried about picking a nominee that's going to be able to beat President Joe Biden in November. We hear that a lot. They want somebody who's electable. Ambassador Nikki Haley, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, has been here a ton. She started her first trip here in February, and she came back a lot. And as she was walking the fairgrounds with Senator Joni Ernst, there were people coming up to her, shaking hands.
Good encounters.
Good encounters, mostly positive. There was not a lot of negative stuff. But I will say, at the same time, there were more people coming up saying hi to Senator Joni Ernst than there were saying hi to Nikki Haley. So that tells you something there.
Moose Sadiq Bidar, Amanda Rooker, stay by. You're going to come back for segment
We'll be
3
right
or whatever the number is.
Thank you.
It's hard for me to keep track of numbers here on live television. Anyway, Donald Trump, as we've said, he's leading the polls. Here, he's leading nationally. But as I also discussed, talked to a lot of voters here, and they're not all sold on Trump, at least not as a surefire nominee in 2024. So next, we're going to speak with a very prominent Iowa Republican who's involved deeply in the evangelical community to talk about that particular constituency, how large they will be in the Iowa caucuses, and a lot of other key details next. You're streaming America Decides.
I think we need somebody new, and I want somebody that can win, of course.
I like Trump a lot, but there's a lot of mess going on.
Right now, I think I would be headed in a direction other than Trump.
If it's important to our nation,
I wonder how you think about where America is at this moment.
it's on Face the Nation.
Can there be stability if Vladimir Putin remains in power?
Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
America Decides, taking you inside American democracy.
The most important stories on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis.
You're going to hear a lot of reporting.
It is clearly a pivotal moment.
Gun control, the economy, education. Both sides of the political aisle fight it out for power.
Bringing you the analysis that you need.
Thoughtfully, with context.
Be part of the conversation.
On CBS News Streaming.
Welcome to America Decides.
An original documentary from CBS reports.
I always tell people that Twitter would not be Twitter without Black Twitter. It's just us being in fellowship with each other.
And it becomes a conversation you don't want to be left out of.
People really started to recognize the power of activism on Twitter.
Based on that one tweet, the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite was trending around the world.
If anything has really powered Black Twitter, it's been humor.
If your food ain't right, oh, we're going to tell you about that too.
We tend to create change, create culture and cool.
That's how movements happen on Black Twitter and go beyond more than that.
Black Twitter, the Twitterverse that changed a generation. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
When weather turns extreme,
The threat of severe weather and dangerous tornadoes is expected to last.
CBS News and the Weather Channel bringing virtual weather technology so advanced, so real.
Let's bring in our partners at the Weather Channel.
Now 6 feet of water, imagine that. Cars that can act like battering rams.
These hyper-realistic simulations show you what the weather will look and feel like before it happens.
Feel the forecast, streaming on CBS News.
An original documentary from CBS reports.
The carnage in our nation's schools has become painfully repetitive.
Now one more child!
School shootings have parents fighting mad.
I promised my daughter I was going to fight. It's going to keep on happening.
And teachers taking lessons in how to fight back.
This is an exercise.
We approach it as it's you or them.
It shouldn't have to be your teacher's job to protect your life.
But will the battle over gun control,
People are afraid that they're going to lose their gun rights altogether.
be the hardest lesson of all?
The exercise, you're having to shoot at an adult. Are you prepared to have to kill one of your students?
Guns in the Classroom, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
She's the most successful alpine skier, male or female, ever, and a worldwide inspiration.
We need a lot of women doing sports really, really well.
The story of Michaela Schifrin's game-changing reign at the top of the slopes when we go person to person.
Welcome back to a special edition of America Decides, live from the Iowa State Fair here in Des Moines, Iowa. Did I mention it's an hour-long special edition? So during the next break, make sure you pop some popcorn so you can stay with us for the entire hour. As mentioned, former President Trump is the Republican frontrunner, nationally and here. No one disputes that. And yet, it feels to me, based on my experience coming here a lot and talking to people here all day yesterday, there is some fluidity in this situation. Iowa Republican voters told me not once but twice, many more times than that, they're at least open to considering somebody else. I want to bring in Bob Vanderplatz, who is a really important voice in Iowa Republican politics. He is deeply embedded in the evangelical community here in Iowa, knows it well, knows the ins and outs and inner workings of politics. So Bob, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me.
So let's give my audience just a sense of the evangelical vote in Iowa. How large is it? What percentage do you imagine it will make up of the caucus attendees come January 2024?
Well, it's a very important lane for the Iowa caucuses. Our best estimate would be about 63% of the Iowa caucuses will be an evangelical-based vote. 2016, when Trump was supposed to win by 5 and Cruz won by 4, a 9-point swing, in large part there was a surge of evangelical voters. 50,000 new evangelical voters turned out to the Iowa caucuses in 2016. So it's a very important lane.
And how would you say they are assessing this race right now?
I would say they're exceptionally wide open. First of all, with the former president, they're very thankful for the lot of things he did, from a vibrant economy, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, standing up for the sanctity of human life, the appointment of 3 justices. But that being said, I think they really believe he presents the highest hurdle of winning in 2024. So therefore, they're looking at DeSantis, Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Mike Pence. It's a good field, and they're kicking the tires right now. That's what they do in August prior to the caucuses.
When they ask you what you believe, what do you tell them?
I tell them, first of all, I'm a friend to the former president, been a friend to him for over a decade. And I just really believe that America's at the point where they want to turn the page. Turn the page not just on Joe Biden, but they want to go to the next generational leader, somebody with a vision for the future versus a complaint about the past. And so therefore, we're very wide open, too, of taking a look at who could be that standard bearer who could not only win the nomination, but win the general as well.
What is former President Trump's biggest flaw in your eyes and in the eyes of evangelical Christians here in Iowa?
I would say his biggest flaw, his biggest hurdle is that there's just an exhaustion level of saying whether it's 1 indictment, 2 indictments, 3 indictments, 4 indictments, this constant cloud, whether it's the election of 2020 or some other thing that keeps it popping up. They really want to be focused on the future of America versus constantly debating this stuff. So I think that's where they're saying, let's turn the page. Let's go to that next generational leader who excites us about a vision for America.
Do you intend to endorse in this race, and if so, when?
You know, I do plan on endorsing, and I always say I'd like to stay out of it, but that's not my nature. So I've endorsed in the last 3. I would say somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas is probably where I will try to weigh in. All of our events will be done by then. I have a front row seat, and I think part of leadership is letting your followers know, what did you assess? You know, what do you see?
You have an event in November that's going to be pretty important, will it not?
Well, yes, the event in November. We just had one in July, the Leadership Summit.
Everyone came here, almost everyone.
Except for the former president. 2,200 evangelical voters, 150 media outlet, and now we're going to have the Presidential Family Forum the weekend prior to Thanksgiving. We'll gather the candidates around the Thanksgiving table. This isn't about bashing each other at the Thanksgiving table. It's about discussing the future of the country collectively, and then we're going to try to assess who's best prepared at this time to lead.
You know as well as I do, Bob, the tea leaf readers in Washington believe you're all in for DeSantis.
Sure they do. And the reason they think I'm all in for DeSantis is that right now DeSantis is probably the clear front runner to be the alternative to Trump. What I have said is we need to find an alternative that we can gather around that will unite the party. So if that's DeSantis in August, the question is going to be, is that DeSantis in November? I think Vivek Ramaswamy would say he believes he's got a shot. I think Nikki Haley would say, Tim Scott, Mike Pence would all say, no, they have a case to be made. And I try to read our followers, our supporters, our base before I weigh in on an endorsement. Who's really energizing them?
And there are 2 schools of thought about Ron DeSantis. One, he got off to a terrible start, and that terrible start is fatal. The other is he got off to a bad start, campaigns can rebound, and he is building a ground game in Iowa. Which one do you think is more closely aligned to the truth?
I believe Governor DeSantis has come out with a very solid start. Matter of fact,
really?
I do. And I think it would have been a problem had he ascended right away and peaked. I don't know if he could have sustained it. What he needs to do now is grind this thing out. The 99 counties that he's going to be doing, building that grassroots organization, announcing 99 county chairs, announcing key endorsements. He needs to be built for last. The grind will serve him well long term. And right now, he's got a lot to rest on with all the results he's done in Florida as governor, in particular, turning it from a toss-up state to winning overwhelmingly in 2022.
Joni Ernst told me yesterday, the Republican senator here, that she believes Trump will win Iowa.
I don't believe that to be the case. Here's what I believe. I believe Trump has got 25 to 30, maybe 35% of support that's going to go for him. The accounting teacher in me says that means he's got 65% or 75% looking for an alternative to him. If there's a leader that can coalesce that support, I think Trump is tailor-made to get defeated here. And I think that's how crucial Iowa is this go-around. If Trump gets beat here, I think it's game on of a nomination. If Trump wins here, I think he runs the table to the nomination.
Evaluate Trump's spat with the sitting governor, Kim Reynolds.
Not helpful at all. Matter of fact, I'm not sure why he would do that. And he's not only done it once, questioning her loyalty, but then coming to the state fair here last week, Saturday, and not sitting down for a fairside chat. Governor Reynolds is the most popular governor in my lifetime in the state of Iowa. They love her. She wants to make it an open, fair playing field for all. But
said she's not going to endorse, right. And Trump has said that's an act of disloyalty.
Right. But, however, if she gets in and endorses somebody other than Trump, that is not beneficial to Trump.
That could have a galvanizing effect.
Huge galvanizing effect. I think she is the best suited politician to really put a thumb on the scale if she chooses to do that.
You talked about your accounting background. Let's do the math. I did the math in 2016. Everyone did it. Yeah. 30 to 35%, then you have the 65%, but if you divide 65 by 7, Trump wins.
Exactly. And so what it is that there needs to be a coalescing, there's no doubt.
When does that need to happen?
I think it needs to happen early, but I think a candidate with these type of numbers available, 65 to 75%, if they show they're the ones to coalesce, I think you could see them coalesce 40+% in the Iowa caucuses, and I think would give a message to the other candidates and the rest of the country who's the clear alternative to Trump.
Before I let you go, when your members tell you that they are exhausted, what does that really mean?
I think it really means the name calling.
From Trump.
From Trump, the constant, under this cloud of investigation for everything. Some of them, that they would say, that makes me more loyal to the president. But for those who are exhausted by it, they just want good, principled leadership for this country that's bold and courageous. That's what they're looking for.
Anyone who we haven't talked about that is doing surprisingly well in your vantage point?
First of all, we have a good field. Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Tim Scott. Vivek Ramaswamy might be the most surprising. 37 years old. He's first run at any office, and people like his message a lot.
You think he's going to have a moment?
I think he may have a moment, but I think Tim Scott may have a moment. I think Pence may have a moment. Nikki Haley may have a moment. DeSantis may have a moment. They
Bob,
need to capture that momentum.
You know there are only so many moments to go around. Bob Vanderplaats, I appreciate the time and your expertise. Thanks so much. Candidates have been responding. They do every single time to former President Trump's legal troubles, whichever indictment in whatever sequence. And they've been doing that while they were at the fair. We spoke with one GOP candidate who has been openly critical of the former president. We'll hear about that next. You are streaming America Decides.
I said over a year ago, that Donald Trump should withdraw from the race.
We see the legal system being weaponized against political opponents. That is un-American and unacceptable.
We have signed the pledge to support the nominee because ultimately the mission of reversing the country's decline is bigger than any one person.
An original documentary from CBS reports. Controversial Congressman George Santos.
Why won't you answer our questions?
How did he manage to get elected?
Thank you very much. God bless you and God bless the USA.
George Santos' campaign was a campaign of deceit, lies, fabrication.
And who is he, really?
I knew him as Anthony DeVolder from Queens.
Really, who he is, he's a fraud.
I compare him to the Tinder swindler.
From people who know him, the truth, the facts, the lies.
He would say that he was worth $100 million.
It's an incredibly cynical episode in American politics, beyond satire.
Had you ever seen anything like this?
No, and I hope I never see it again.
Campaign of Deceit, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
She dazzled on the court and off the court as a businesswoman. Thank you for joining us on Person to Person. Tennis superstar and entrepreneur Serena Williams.
An original CBS Reports documentary.
I asked my students, what are we going to do about racism in the United States?
The backlash over teaching about racism in American schools.
I don't think it has any place in the classroom.
We can either pretend and say, no, we're not racist and we're all great people, or we can actually start to do the really, really hard work of addressing it.
How did you lose your job? I made the statement that white privilege is a fact.
Is it helping diversity and inclusion?
When you bring in different people's stories and experience, it enriches education.
If you don't talk about something, it doesn't go away.
Or driving us further apart.
What schools are doing to our children in the name of anti-racism is in fact teaching them racism.
The intention is to put us in this war against each other.
An original CBS Reports documentary streaming now. An original CBS Reports documentary.
I was entitled to equal pay for equal work under the law.
Does the Supreme Court's power need to be checked?
9 Supreme Court justices, 5 of them said no, she's not entitled. That's not right.
Calls to fix the court tend to go along with the politics of the moment.
Republican-appointed justices have all tended to go in one direction, with the Democratic-appointed justices tending to go in another.
Even though it's only 9 justices, it takes 5 of them to make the law of the land.
Does it have political impact? True. Political intent? Probably not true.
If the American people don't trust the judgment of their court, that's a real problem for our democracy.
An original CBS Reports documentary streaming now.
On our places, bright shiny faces.
When you wake up in the morning, we want to be your go-to team.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for coffee with my 2 good friends, and we talk about the world.
I think his policy and I think what he accomplished was good, but his personality just turns me off.
It's putting down the other political candidates in the Republican Party, and I've had enough of it myself.
Looking at the position the country is in right now and how things were when Trump was in office, I don't think that anyone could say that it wasn't better.
Voice of Iowa Republicans right here at the Iowa State Fair. Welcome back to a very special edition of America Decides, a 1-hour edition. Hope you popped that popcorn right here from the midway of the Iowa State Fair in Des Moines. Former President Trump's rivals in this race for the 2024 nomination, they've been quick to respond, but not always quick to criticize the former president. This is continuing a pattern that's played out through every indictment, and it played out again after the indictment in the Fulton County, Georgia election case. Multiple candidates have defended the former president throughout his legal troubles, but a couple of others have been critical, including former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Amanda Rooker and Musaddiq Badar join us now. As I said, they would be coming back. They are here. Amanda is the chief political reporter for KCCI, our outstanding affiliate here in Des Moines, Iowa. Musaddiq is the CBS News political reporter. So for both of you, I want to play an encounter I had with Asa Hutchinson at the fair yesterday about the latest Trump indictment. Let's take a quick listen.
I think the 2 key cases are the classified information, the national security protection, and then the January 6th, and which are both federal cases. And generally, state cases are deferential to the federal case that was brought. And I think you can make a case that Georgia should have been deferential because there's overlap there as well. But it is what it is. And I said over a year ago, that Donald Trump should withdraw from the race because of what he is facing. And if you put our country first, then that's exactly what you would do. And that case is only made stronger with every indictment and case that is brought against him.
What do you think the probability is of him dropping out?
Well, I think it's nigh unto 0, but I would say that there's probably going to be some challenges under the 14th Amendment.
Have you read about that?
I have.
Are you persuaded by that?
I am persuaded that it is another issue that should keep him from the presidency, that could keep him from the presidency.
What do you need to do to catapult yourself?
Well, the debate is important, and secondly, it's spending every day in Iowa that I can because people need to get to know me. I'm not as known as the other candidates. My record's not as known.
People get to know Asa Hutchinson. Well, that's certainly true. Amanda and Moose, he has not developed any momentum here that I can detect. He has a record. He's an accomplished governor. He was in former President George W. Bush's cabinet, and yet kind of flatlining here in Iowa. How would you evaluate where Asa Hutchinson is, Amanda?
Well, I think that he hasn't had a moment, right? He's been here. He's been on the ground. I've watched him walk into diners, do that grassroots Iowa campaigning, but he hasn't had kind of a breakout moment at an event or with people that grabs the headlines and gets people talking. Although he is one of the only candidates to really be talking so harshly condemning Donald Trump, that even hasn't been enough to really given the momentum to jump to the top of the
And Sadiq, that is the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the political calculus every Republican is going through. What do? You attack the president, and if you do so, does it look like you're amplifying Democratic criticism? Does that land well or not? And what do you do? How do you balance these two?
It's hard for a lot of these candidates to balance that, and we've seen them try to make that tiptoe that line. You just had Bob Vanderplaats on at his event, at the Family Leader event. Former Congressman Will Hurd said that the president, Donald Trump, is running to stay out of prison, and he was booed off stage. And so it's tough for them to not just on the indictments, but on other policy issues, draw differences. Vivek Ramaswamy has been attempting this, and at his Fair Side chat, he said he wants to build on a lot of the stuff that the former president started on. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they criticize the former president, not just on the legal issues, but on policy and things that they want to build on. And a lot of them are not having success so far.
Amanda, while I have you, I want to ask you about Vivek Ramaswamy, because Bob Vanderplaats said he's probably the surprise Republican so far. What are you hearing?
He is. When I talk to Iowans, I say, if they say I'm not looking at Donald Trump, or even if they say I'm looking at Donald Trump, they say my number 2, my number 3 are either Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott, or Ron DeSantis are the 3 names I consistently hear.
4 months ago, that would not have been true. Nobody would have said Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, absolutely. He was the name that, was maybe among the bottom of the list of people. Who is that? He's not in politics.
Right.
I've never heard of him before. People may not be able to, cite where, who he is or what he's done, but they certainly like his message.
Mm-hmm. And Moose, is that consistent with what you've heard and seen?
It is, and we're hearing his name come up more and more. And like you said, sometimes people can't even pronounce his name, but they say, I like that guy. He speaks a lot of truth, and he speaks very eloquently and well. And so the other thing he's doing, going to a lot of places. Every time candidates come to Iowa, he's doing 6, 7 events. He is going all over the state, and that's going to make a difference.
Another thing, he's met with people, key influential Iowans, Governor Reynolds, even to talk about how do I message well to Iowans and how do I connect with them. And the Iowans that I talk to say he's really positive. He has a clear message. He wears a hat that says truth on the top. And I know what he stands for. He stands for patriotism, and they like that. But I don't know if they like that enough to topple some of the other names that they know of.
To topple a DeSantis,
Sure.
to topple a Tim Scott,
Right.
to topple a Nikki Haley. Yeah. All of this still has yet to gel. Right. It's still a kind of a free-floating mass of questions, pitches from politicians, and big decisions on the minds of Iowa voters. Sadiq Badar, Amanda Rooker, thank you so very much. I don't know if you can hear in the background, it's the Traveling America Decides Orchestra that showed up here at the Iowa State Fair. Hope you've enjoyed that musical interlude. It's not just presidential hopefuls, of course, descending on Iowa State Fair. State leaders are also getting here, and we have one, kind of a state leader at the federal level. My conversation with Iowa Republican Senator Joni Ernst is next. You're streaming America Decides.
He was a good president, but I just don't like all the negativity around him right now.
So in Washington, people write stories about Trump fatigue or Trump exhaustion. Would you put yourself in that category?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
You're not, but it doesn't sound like you're totally exhausted. You're just slightly exhausted.
Right.
It's a history-making meeting. 4 extraordinary women who are all 4-star generals and admirals. How did you deal with being discriminated against?
I just worked harder.
The future of an ever-evolving U.S. military when we go person to person.
Stories start with the who, what, when, and where. CBS News has been following this story. Camilla, why is the government relying on these devices to track migrants? But it's why it's important to you that matters most. Doctor, why are federal health advisors focusing on this specific pill for contraception? And knowing what to ask is how you open the door to a deeper understanding. I'm John Dickerson. See you on Prime Time. Streaming free everywhere.
Stories that inform. You can be really old at 60, and you can be really young at 85.
Inspire. How do we unlock the power within ourselves to be who we want to be?
And brighten your day.
The best part of fame is making people feel good. Always send the people home happy.
Make every day a little more like Sunday morning.
Here comes the sun. Stream now on the free CBS News app.
An original documentary from CBS Reports. He started out as a fun-loving party boy, but the alcohol got the better of him. What I envisioned was him being in some sort of medical facility. I just thought, what a great candidate for them to learn about the results of alcoholism and what it does to a body. But his body was sold to the military, specifically used as a crash test dummy in a simulated Humvee explosion. I was devastated. I had the box. I don't know if they were his ashes or not. I just held it as tight as I could, and I just told him how sorry I was. Body Brokers, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Hey there, welcome to The Uplift.
I look over at him and he's smiling.
I'm going to remember that the rest of my life.
It's really a miracle that he's with us today.
The Uplift, stream now on the free CBS News app.
America Decides, taking you inside American democracy.
The most important stories on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis.
You're going to hear a lot of reporting.
It is clearly a pivotal moment.
Gun control, the economy, education.
Both sides of the political aisle fight it out for power.
Bringing you the analysis that you need.
Thoughtfully, with context.
Be part of the conversation.
On CBS News Streaming.
Welcome to America Decides, Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
After nearly 4 decades of March Madness, this sports broadcasting legend is stepping away from his role in covering the NCAA basketball tournament. Jim Nantz on his fondest memories and what's next when we go person to person.
Welcome back to a special edition of America Decides here from the Iowa State Fair in Des Moines. Iowa's junior Republican senator is Joni Ernst. She's been here at the fair, squiring around candidates. I was able to speak with her about what the fair is, and is it the unofficial start of caucus season?
I would say my roast and ride in June was the start of caucus season.
How big is the fair, though?
The fair is huge, and it's a really great opportunity for the presidential candidates. Come out, really test the waters, work on their messaging with these Iowa voters, because they're going to be asked a lot of very hard questions while they're here at the fair. But yes, this really is when things start speeding up, and it is full speed ahead to caucuses.
From now until the caucus.
From now until caucuses.
And I've met folks from all over Iowa, so this is not just Des Moines people. This is folks from all over the state. This is really a very wide open place for candidates to find Iowans from all over the state.
It is, absolutely.
The sentiment in D.C. is this race is over. Trump has a huge lead and he's not going to lose it. Is that your sense?
I would not say that at all. I just had a conversation under the umbrella at the picnic table here with a family, and they were talking about, hey, all these candidates, what's your feeling? So they didn't mention the former president at all. I would say that he is polling very well. He has his base. Obviously, he's got a big lead, but we've got many months to go. So we want to hear what the candidates have to say. That's why I don't endorse. I welcome all of those candidates into the state of Iowa because people are interested in hearing their message.
Your reaction to the indictment yesterday in Fulton County?
I think Iowans are becoming very desensitized to all of these indictments. And I do my county tours, I do town halls at those county tours, and a lot of Iowans are coming back and they're like, what's the deal? They're saying there's one system of justice for President Trump and there's another system of justice for Joe Biden. So they see a disparity there. And so they have gotten to a point now where all they see is the judicial system going after President Trump. They've seen other people in the past that have done very similar, if not the same, types of actions and have gotten away with it. So it's telling.
But there is no one else who has January 6th.
No, but if you take a look at all of the folks that have denied elections, you take this latest indictment in Georgia, you replace the name Donald Trump and you slide in Stacey Abrams, it's probably very similar. So there are a lot of people that are just really angry about this. And the angrier they get about it, the more they want to support Donald Trump.
And yet I have encountered people here today who, when I ask them, and I try not to put words in their mouth, what they think about the idea of either Trump exhaustion or Trump fatigue, they kind of nod a little bit.
Well, I think that's why everybody wants to hear a message from everybody.
Do you sense that?
I sense frustration is what I sense.
With him or with everything around him?
With the entire process. So having other candidates come in, share their message, you know, Iowans have that opportunity to decide who they want to support. So again, staying neutral in it, I want to let the Iowa voters make that decision. So President Trump has visited, many of these other candidates are visiting. Everyone has the opportunity to go out and listen to them and see, okay, who's the right person to take the nation forward?
Do me a favor, evaluate the former president's comments about Governor Reynolds.
I love Kim Reynolds. I love her. I think she is one of the most fantastic governors, if not the best governor in the United States of America today. She is a dear friend, and of course, anyone who says something about the governor is going to have my ire. So she is an incredible person. She has led our economy, school choice efforts, you name it. Kim Reynolds has been at the forefront of all
Unwise of the former president to take after her?
I think that was a slip up on his part. Kim is beloved by so many Iowans here, and she is a phenomenal leader.
So Mike Huckabee didn't become the Republican nominee. Rick Santorum did not become the Republican nominee. Ted Cruz did not become the nominee. All won Iowa. Will Iowa matter more in 2024 than the previous times?
Iowa always matters because we always have such a large field at the beginning of the caucus season. Because we are first in the nation caucus, we have the opportunity to highlight those candidates, and then the field will start to narrow. The beauty about Iowa is that people are well educated on the issues here, and it really is a low-cost state when it comes to getting your message out. And so you do have some of those lesser-known candidates that are able to get a little bit of fame and get their message out, and it's important. So I encourage everybody to come to Iowa, share your message, get your start here.
You walked around with Tim Scott today. Tell me what you observed and what you absorbed watching his interaction here at the fair.
Okay, the entire time I was with Tim Scott, I didn't hear a single negative comment from the bystanders. He was actively engaging with all of the folks along the streets, in the cattle barns, you name it. He was engaging with everyone, and they were engaging right back.
Finish this sentence for me. Donald Trump loses Iowa and
that's a big surprise. Yes.
Please continue. Please continue. The ramifications of that would be?
I still think that I don't see that happening.
You don't?
I still think he has a very strong base here in Iowa. But I think that you have other candidates that will also perform exceptionally well.
All right, finish this
here
sentence.
in Iowa.
Donald Trump wins Iowa
and you see a number of other Republican candidates that will start to narrow down, but we will still have a number, probably about 4 or 5 really top contenders that will continue to make their breakthrough.
The point of that last question was several people here who are experienced in Republican politics and caucusing in Iowa have told me if he wins, it's over. The nomination's his. Because there won't be a break on it. There won't be a break in New Hampshire. There won't be a break in South Carolina. It will be a run to the end.
I don't know other states as well as Iowa. I think that the former president will perform very well, but I think you are going to have strong showings, though. I mean, just by seeing the reaction that Tim Scott has had, that Ron DeSantis had the other day, Nikki Haley.
It's still a competitive place.
It's still competitive, and I think it's really important. You'll see those folks probably finish in the top 4.
Next, I take you through my journey eating across the Iowa State Fair. You are streaming America Decides.
What's your favorite part about the fair?
Food.
What are you excited to try today?
So far, I've had the curly fries, but I think I'm going to have the Iowa Twinkie.
Why'd you come out here today?
For cotton candy, corn dogs.
people from every corner of America facing challenges.
Everyone is just looking for some type of connection.
Just raise your hand and say, hey, I'd like to help.
Coming together to find solutions.
We are going to do something about it.
Their stories are our stories.
Welcome to Eye on America.
Stream now on the free CBS News app.
At the CBS Evening News, we focus on solutions. We look at a story and we say, how do we make it relevant to people's lives? So this is what we eat to live longer. Finding solutions to help people understand what are the right choices to make for you and your family.
The CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Morning news matters because it sets the tone for your day, and it's a way of getting you started.
We take you places, teach you new things, and we make you feel like, it's not all bad. We're going to uplift you.
People say to me, you always seem to be having a good time. I mean, you know what? You're right.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings.
An original documentary from CBS Reports.
You had a substitute teacher that was pretty popular. What was his reputation?
Everyone loved him.
You had to miss a test. What did he offer to have you make up the test?
He said that I can come by after school was all over and just take the exam. The blinds were down. He closed the door. The next thing I knew, he was right next to me. That's when I realized what was going to happen. Even if I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, no one would hear me because no one was there. He told me that if I ever said anything to anyone, he would kill me and he would kill my family. So I did it.
Pledge of Silence, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
She was near the finish line of the Boston Marathon when a terrorist bomb changed everything. Join us for an extraordinary story of survival, persistence, and triumph when we go person to person.
When weather is about to get extreme.
We're talking about hail, we're talking about tornadoes, damaging wind.
Every second counts.
Let's now take a look at what that really means to you.
That's why CBS News and the Weather Channel have come together to bring you virtual weather technology so advanced, so real.
We can show you what it's going to look like when the storms come through.
You'll see what will happen, where it will happen, before it does. Feel the forecast on CBS News. Time to get prepared.
We're really excited that we've been honored with the Emmy Award for Outstanding Live News Program. But we know we couldn't have done that without you. So thank you. CBS Mornings, weekdays at 7 on CBS.
We go to stories because we can bring someone to that story. That human connection is incredibly important. The news doesn't have to be depressing.
What do you love about running? Energy!
It can be uplifting.
State Fair, you have to eat, and most of the things you're going to eat are fried. And I've got about 6 things I'm going to go to down this midway that I'm going to go try to sample. The quest has 2 goals: keep this white shirt stain free and no lapsing into a food coma. Veggie table, I think we'll pass. So what's in the grinder bowl?
That's the mango sausage.
Right.
It's got mozzarella inside, so the mango sausage is smoked, the bacon wrapped around it, and covered in marinara sauce.
Let me have one.
It's perfectly healthy and
perfectly
delicious.
healthy. It looks perfectly healthy.
Yes, of course.
Well,
Not messy at all.
No, that's great.
Yeah, see, you're a pro.
That is great. Next up, State Fair classic, the corn dog. Hey there. Footlong corn dog, please. There we go. There we go. There's no State Fair complete without a corn dog. Now for some Iowa State Fair fine dining. A pork chop on a stick. Journalist, producer, both consumers. We do this for the joy of it. Okay. Very good. Let's go.
Major, any thoughts going into this one?
I do it for science. You know, all for science. So I'll have one deep-fried bacon brisket, mac and cheese, grilled cheese, please. Look at that. I do this for science. Tell me about the sauce.
So it's a raspberry chipotle sauce.
It's really good.
You like it?
It makes it an entirely different bite. This is good, but it's so much better with the sauce. And remember this, it's really important. At the state fair, a diet beverage neutralizes all calories. So next, this is an Iowa Twinkie. Pulled pork, corn, cream cheese, ranch seasoning, fill a bacon-wrapped jalapeno, glazed and smoked with sweet barbecue sauce. Iowa Twinkie, not a dessert item. Here we go. By far the messiest thing I've had. No odyssey in a state fair fried food consumption would really be complete without dessert. That's why we have in front of us the deep-fried strawberry shortcake on a stick. I was expecting a little bit more strawberry shortcake flavor. First things first, look at the shirt. Stainless, absolutely stainless, okay? Second thing, I am not lapsing into a food coma, but I do need a nap. Fortunately, RJ is here with me, and he's got to help. He's got something for me, right?
Yes, sir, I sure do. Lay down right here. Don't worry about that food coma. I'm going to do it on your back though for me. Ah, okay. Well, he's already out. I guess, okay, there'll be cash and credit.
That was fun. Congratulations to Joni Bell. She made that epic sandwich which won first place here in the new food at the Iowa State Fair. That does it for this very special edition of America Decides from the aforementioned Iowa State Fair. You are streaming CBS News.
If it's important to our nation,
I wonder how you think about where America is at this moment.
it's on Face the Nation.
Can there be stability if Vladimir Putin remains in power?
Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
An original documentary from CBS reports.
AI is among the most world-changing technologies ever.
Curing diseases, scientific breakthroughs, making lives better.
They can help us with medical discoveries, scientific discoveries, doing better agriculture, having cures for things like Alzheimer's.
It's also going to really transform the way we work.
The uplifting potential of artificial intelligence is limitless.
It gives you a friend, somebody to chat with 24/7. That is non-judgmental. He makes me feel loved and desired.
And so are its downfalls.
The problem with all this AI is that it's unpredictable and uncontrollable.
The choices we make now will have lasting effects for decades, maybe even centuries.
The ChatGPT revolution, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
I'm here. Fire and rescue is out. They're doing wellness checks and people are trapped inside their homes.
How's the pay? A lot better. That's you and the Queen. That's beautiful.
An original documentary from CBS reports tensions rising between a powerful country and a vital island.
The supply of this technology came grinding to a halt. The world would grind to a halt.
Absolutely. As Taiwan faces threats and aggression,
Taiwan is on the front line, and we understand our responsibility as a democracy. We cannot fall.
CBS News examines whether they can defend themselves.
Putin, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, there are manifestations of the battle between autocracy and democracy. And that is a fight that we're all engaged in.
Defending Taiwan, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Stories that inform.
You can be really old at 60, and you can be really young at 85.
Inspire.
How do we unlock the power within ourselves to be who we want to be?
And brighten your day.
The best part of fame is making people feel good. Always send the people home happy.
Make every day a little more like Sunday morning.
Here Comes the Sun.
Stream now on the free CBS News app.
Why aren't you holding yourself to that standard? It doesn't look like Congress is doing anything. What are the risks that they're looking at? I think I asked direct questions. I don't know that they're tough questions per se. I think there are a lot of tough issues that our country is facing. Does this mandate make sense? That's the role of Face the Nation, to focus on the issues at hand. That means a civil, contextualized